viewership. Because we have to find out why they like open borders where people pour in from, right, Paul? Why do they, who could like an open border? You know, more importantly, why do they want, we're the party of common sense. As an example, it's big stuff. It's bigger than people think. Why would anybody want to have men playing in women's sports? Why? Why? Do you see the records that are being set in weightlifting? These are records that are not going to be beaten anytime soon, maybe in 1,000 years from now. But they're being and swimming and running, and it's so unfair and so horrible, really so demeaning to women. Who would want this? I mean, who would want it? We are the party, and we're conservative, all that stuff. But you know what? More importantly, we're the party of common sense. We want strong borders. We want a powerful military. We don't want wars. We want to have great education for our children. We want to have low interest rates. And we were energy independent just 3.5 years ago. And today we're saying to Venezuela, we need your energy. Please help us. It's so sad. It's so pathetic. We're going to lower your energy costs by 50% within 1 year. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to get those prices way down. But first, I want to talk to you about Crooked Joe's heinous and criminal obliteration of our southern border. You people know better than just about anybody about the southern border because they are pouring through your state at levels nobody's ever seen before. 2 days ago, Joe Biden signed an executive order to officially declare his formal approval and support for the largest border invasion in the history of the world. So this has been the largest invasion in history. We are being invaded. This is not people coming in. These are people coming in totally unchecked, unvetted. They're pouring into our country. Far from closing the border, Joe Biden's order, this is his new order. So he's getting killed in the polls. People say that, look, this is really bad what's happening on the border. So they come up with something that's fake, just like everything else they do. It's all fake. The impeachments are fake. The court cases are a disgrace to our country. Everything is fake. So they come up with this order. I won't say it because I don't like using the word bullshit in front of these beautiful children. So I won't say it. I will not say it. But this thing allows millions of people. This allows millions of people into our country. Joe Biden's order is pro-invasion, pro-child trafficking, pro-women trafficking, pro-human trafficking, pro-drug dealers. And in all, it's really, they bring death and they bring destruction into our country. It's really pro-illegal immigration. It's great for illegal immigration. It doesn't do anything. It makes it worse than what you have right now. By the way, if he wanted to close the border, I didn't have to go to Congress. I had the best border we've ever had. I had the most secure border we've ever had. You know, when I ran in 2016, I ran largely on the border. Border was really bad. I fixed it. And when I ran in 2020, I said, I want to talk about the border. And all of my geniuses said, nobody wants to hear it, sir. Nobody wants to hear about the border. I said, well, let's talk about it. Nobody did it because I fixed it. It was so good we couldn't talk about it. It's pretty bad when you do such a good job that you can't talk about it. But they said, don't talk about it. They were right. Nobody cared about it because I fixed it. The problem is this border is, I'd say, 100 times worse than it was in 2016. 2016 was beautiful by comparison. But we'll fix it again and we'll make it right because we're not going to have a country. You know, without borders, you don't have a country. Biden's action this week establishes an annual minimum of approximately 2 million illegal alien border crossers. In other words, he thinks he's getting tough. He's only going to allow 2 to 3 million people into our country. Where do they come from? Not including the millions that will continue to pour through as gotaways. You know what got away? Those are unreported people. They got away. It's called They Got Away. It's a good name. They walk into our country. Nobody knows they're here. That's not even including that. Joe Biden is the worst president in the history of the United States by far. The worst. The worst. He is destroying our country. The only good thing, Jimmy Carter's a nice man. Do we agree? Jimmy Carter is a brilliant president. Jimmy Carter is a brilliant president by comparison. His administration, by comparison, is brilliant. So as an older man, not feeling great. And he's a nice person. I know him a little bit. Nice person. But Jimmy Carter's happy now because he says that his administration is brilliant compared to Joe Biden. Joe Biden is the worst president in history. We have to win on November 5th, which will be the most important day in the history of our country. I'm telling you, it will be. I used to say in 2016, I'd say that, not with the same conviction, but I felt in 2016 and 2020, I didn't have to say we had a country that was just amazing. We had the greatest economy in history during that short period of time. We had the greatest in history, the greatest jobs, greatest tax cuts, gave you the biggest tax cuts in history, biggest regulation cuts. Everything was good. But I'm telling you that this election coming up on November 5th, 2024, is going to go down as the most important day, because if we don't win, it's all of us, it's millions of people. If we don't win, this country is finished. I really believe that. I think it's finished. In addition, Crooked Joe's action dramatically expands the Biden Migrant smartphone app. Do you believe this? He's talking about a smartphone. He has no idea what a smartphone is. That allows illegal aliens to gain free entry to be released into the United States at the push of a button. Pretty hard. You go like this, ding, I'm here. Welcome to America. Biden's order is not a border security plan. It's a concession to the fact that he has lost control over our border. He's totally lost control over the border, and it's a really dangerous place. He is conceding death, and he's conceding defeat at the border. On day one of my administration, I will be rescinding Crooked Joe's outrageous executive order. And I will be slamming the door shut on the Biden Migrant app, and I will terminate every single open borders policy of the Biden administration as soon as I take the oath of office. It will take place on the exact same day. I don't need to wait weeks. It's going to be done on the same day that we take together. We all take the oath of office, okay? The result of Biden's action this week will be more innocent Americans killed by illegal alien criminals, more children trafficked and sold into slavery, and millions more illegal aliens pouring into our country, and many will come through a very beautiful place known as Arizona, right? Arizona. I tell you, it's so sad to see what's happened here, right? So sad. You remember you had your Sheriff Joe? Huh? Where is he? Is he here? I used to love that guy. Where is Sheriff Joe? Hey, Joe, come up here. Come on. Get up here, Joe. Sheriff Joe. No games. There were no games. There were no games being played with Sheriff Joe. I didn't know he was here. Come here, Joe. I don't kiss men, but I kissed him. We had a real border with this guy. People said he was too tough. Now they're saying, where is Sheriff Joe? You know, he's 170 years old, but we want him back. Joe, say something.
Hold on. I want to see your birth certificate. He doesn't believe my age. You think I'm 73?
I think you're 50.
I love this guy. When NBC came up to me and said, John McCain, you're a hero. And I paused. Because 4 months before, I woke up and told my wife, and thank you, everything you've done for Ava. Never forget that. Never. So I said about McCain, I'm not going to badmouth him. You know, he still served our country. But when I woke up, I told my wife, I finally found the only hero I ever had in my life, and that's him. And I'm like the president. I'm not a typical politician. We talk too much sometimes. But you know what? You talk from the heart. Unfortunately, and you get in trouble for that. And what he did for my wife, Ava, I will never forget it.
Thank you.
When my wife came down, my wife used to watch Fox, who I never watch anymore, except for your guy. And because she used to watch Donald Trump. And when I told Donald Trump about my wife, that she had cancer, he's called my wife not once, 7 times. You didn't have to do that. So all the media up there, you know, they badmouth me every day. I love the media that badmouths me because my polls keep going up. So keep badmouthing me. You're doing him a favor, too. Keep badmouthing him. So anyway, Mr. President, from the heart, and by the way, June 14, you and I, birthday, same day. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Grab that railing, Joe. You did perfect, but you don't want to pull a Biden. Thank you. This guy did some job on the border. You know, he wasn't appreciated, actually, and now he's appreciated because you understand what he did. He did an amazing job, and good man, great wife. He had a great wife, actually. And thank you very much. I didn't know you were here, Joe, actually, and I'm glad you were. If Joe Biden truly wanted to sign an executive order to stop the invasion, he only needs a single, think of it, a single sentence, and it would say, I hereby immediately reinstate every single border policy of a gentleman named Donald J. Trump, who was president of the United States. Less than 4 years ago, I handed Joe Biden the strongest, most secure border in U.S. history. We built 157 miles, and some people say 571 miles. We added 157. We're ready to get it up. It was going to go up to 200, and they didn't want to put it up. But we built 571 miles of wall. We were going to add over 200. They ended up selling. It was all made. All we had to do is flip it up. It was going to go up very quickly. Then we had a horrible thing happen during the election. You know better than us. And they ended up selling it for 5 cents on the dollar. Very expensive stuff. Just what the Border Patrol spec. They wanted steel. They wanted concrete. They wanted rebar. They wanted 7,000-pound concrete. They wanted hardened steel. It was very good stuff. And they wanted the panel on top. That was called an anti-climb panel. I never liked it visually, but I said, it does work. We checked it. The same guys, we hired mountain climbers, can you believe, from Mount Everest. That's pretty good. And they couldn't get up when you had the anti-climb panel. This is, give me these little trivia facts. The panel on top, I hated it because I said, it doesn't look good. But then when I found out they couldn't climb with the panel, without the panel, they had no problem. I said, let's put the panel in. It looks just fine. But we ended all of the catch and release. We shut down asylum fraud. We had remain in Mexico, safe third agreements and Title 42. And we brought illegal immigration to the lowest level on record under the Trump administration. If you crossed our border illegally, you got caught. We sent you back to the place from which you came. And, you know, they weren't allowed to do that with Obama and Biden. When I first came in, I said, you got to get them out. MS-13. We took out thousands of MS-13 criminals. We sent them back to their place. You had plenty of them here. We got them all out. But I was told, sir, you're not going to be able to do that. Why? Because Honduras and El Salvador, and some of the other countries, they wouldn't take them back under any circumstances. They wouldn't take them back. I said, what do you mean? We put them in buses, they blocked the roads. We put them in planes, they put big planes on the runway so you couldn't land. They won't take them back. How long has that been going on for? 10 years, 12 years? It's been going on for a long time. I said, how much money do we pay those countries? Sir, we give them $750 million a year for economic development. Okay, you do. See, 750. Okay, as of effective immediately, inform them they're not getting the $750 million. That was in the evening. That was on a Thursday evening. On Friday morning, like early, 7:30 in the morning, I got almost simultaneously 3 calls, not coordinated, separate calls from the heads of the 3 countries. And I said, what's up? It's early in the morning. Sir, we understand that you're upset about something. Please, there must be a misunderstanding. I said, you won't take the criminals that you send over in caravans, and they have a lot to do with it. They put the people that they don't want in those caravans. You won't take those criminals back, and you're not getting any more money from the United States at all. Sir, there must be a misunderstanding. We would be honored to take back MS-13 criminals. It would be such... And we started sending them back by the thousands, by the thousands. But when crooked Joe Biden got in, he took the most secure border in U.S. history and he quickly turned it into the worst border nightmare, I believe, in the history of the world. There's never been a border where they allow 18 million people, and I think that's the real number as of now, 18 million people. In April, border crossings were up 1,000% compared to the same month last year. 1,000% compared to last year. And by the way, last year, it was 1,000% compared to the abuse. There's never been anything. A guy like Sheriff Joe must be going crazy when he hears this. If one person got in, he'd go wild. One person. How do you feel about tens of thousands? How do you feel about millions of people? Millions of people. In total, crooked Joe Biden has imported more illegal aliens than the populations of 40 out of our 50 states, and soon that's going to be a much higher number. It could even almost top. I think it's going to end up topping. I'll tell you what, if this guy got reelected, the country is finished, your border is finished, you won't have a country anymore. It'll be a disaster. Just on this one issue, and we're not talking about nuclear proliferation, we're not talking about all the other issues that he has no idea what the hell he's talking about. You know, if you think about it, Ukraine being attacked by Russia would have never happened. It would have never happened, just wouldn't have happened. For a lot of reasons, including the fact that energy was much cheaper, and Russia makes its money with energy, basically, but would have never happened. Putin would have never done it. Wouldn't have happened, and it never did. You know, people said, well, how does he know it wouldn't happen? Because for 4 years, it never did. And watch China and Taiwan. Watch what's going on with that. Another thing, Israel would have never been attacked, ever. Would have never been attacked. Iran was broke. Iran was broke. They didn't have money to give out to Hezbollah, to Hamas. Iran was broke. Israel would have never been attacked. And you know what else? Just to add, I could say 30 different things, but just to add one more, you wouldn't have had any inflation. We had no inflation. We were down at a number so perfect. And now you're suffering with numbers that nobody's ever seen before, and it's all unsustainable. But the Biden invasion is no accident. It's a deliberate demolition of our sovereignty and of our borders. Somehow, somebody's going to explain to us why they would want this to happen. I guess it's probably votes. They probably think these people are going to be voting. And interestingly, I don't know if you just came across the wires, I'm leading now with Hispanic voters. Isn't that good? So, I don't know, maybe they're wasting their time. Upon taking office, Joe Biden stopped the completion of that wall. He instituted catch and release across the entire southern border, and he releases them in our country. I had catch and release too. You know what my catch and release was? I released them in Mexico. How about the Remain in Mexico? I started something that we never had before, Remain in Mexico. And Remain in Mexico, you had to see Tijuana. It's probably the fastest growing city in the history of the world. They couldn't come into our country until we checked them out, and most of them didn't check out. He knowingly ripped up the Remain in Mexico policy, which was not easy to get. You know, when you go to Mexico, you say, listen, we want to have hundreds of thousands, even millions of people standing by the border on your side. They're not allowed. You think that was an easy thing to get? And I got it. And I got 28,000 soldiers free of charge from Mexico. And I said, if you're not going to give them to me, we're going to charge you a nice, big, beautiful, fat tariff of 25%, 50%. It'll go up to 100%. And they said, we would be delighted to give you 28,000 soldiers, sir. And now, last week I heard they want to charge the United States billions of dollars, billions, just for the privilege of sitting down with them and negotiating. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? They wouldn't be doing that with us. We willfully, think of it, he terminated my Safe Third agreements. A big deal. Safe Third is a big deal. He rescinded Title 42. People are allowed into our country that are very sick with disease that can be easily spread, and they're allowed into our country. It's a big problem, too. You see that. He threw open the gates to millions of fighting-aged males from all over the planet. You saw that. 29,000 people from China. Everyone looks like he's ready for the military. It's like, I said, are we crazy or what? What the hell are we doing to our country? This guy is so incompetent. He's so bad. And the only chance they have is all of this weaponization stuff. They're going after everybody. If they focus the same energy on making America great again, I probably wouldn't have even run. I ran because I saw such stupidity. And I won because you all agreed with me. And the very first bill that Crooked Joe sent to Congress was a plan to give mass amnesty to millions and millions of illegal aliens, even if we don't know anything about them. And you know, they take care of them, but they don't take care of our vets. I had a 92% approval rating with our vets, the VA. Now it's, If Joe Biden wins this election, he wants to turn every single illegal alien that he let in across the borders into a voting citizen. I believe that's the only reason this is happening, because nobody could there's no other reason that this is a good thing. And for that, you know, it's interesting, they cheat so much, they don't really need that. That's the way I look at it. So I almost don't even think that's the reason, but it probably is. By contrast, I want to send Joe Biden's illegal aliens back home where they belong. They have to go back home. Because quite simply, Joe Biden wants an invasion. I want a deportation. I want a deportation. Gonna have to send him, because it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Look, there's Mr. Wall right there. Stand up. Look at that suit. I love that suit. I love that suit. You look sharp. By day, he's a CPA who does very well. Look at him. He's the greatest. He's been to about 200 rallies, I think, right? Pretty close. That's great. That's cool. We built a lot of wall. On day one, I will seal the border, I will stop the invasion, and we will begin the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. Have no choice. We have no choice. Biden has given us no choice. Under Crooked Joe Biden, the world is emptying out their prisons, insane asylums, and mental institutions. It's emptying out all of these places at levels that nobody's ever seen, and sending us the most vicious criminals, savage gang members. Sadistic cartels are pouring into our countries, loaded up with horrible, horrible criminals, and they're pouring into our countries at level our country at levels never seen before. We've never seen anything like this before. And it's only going to get worse. You see what's going on in New York where they're fighting? They're having fistfights with policemen in the middle of the streets. Fistfights. I've seen people get shot. I've seen a lot, but fistfights, I mean, those are long-term. And it's horrible. Nobody's ever seen. And in their country, they'd be executed immediately if they did it. They know that. But it's taken them a little while to get acclimated. You're going to have migrant crime added to regular crime at levels that nobody has ever seen before anywhere in the world. That's what's happening. And I have to say, Arizona is being turned into a dumping ground for the dungeons of the third world. They're all coming in. In Venezuela, crime, think of this, Venezuela. Next time we'll meet in Venezuela, it'll be safer. In Venezuela, crime is down 72% because they've taken their criminals from Caracas and all of these different places, and they've dumped them in the United States. They're emptying out the jails. All over the country, all over our country, we're being affected, and affected badly. And all over the world, if you look, the jail populations are at the lowest levels they've maybe ever been at. I mean, they're at levels that nobody's seen for 25, 30 years. And also mental institutions. They're taking people out, very, very sick people, and they're dumping them into the United States. Congratulations, by the way. They're dumping them into the United States of America. The mental institutions throughout the world, and I'm not talking about South America. I'm talking about in Africa, the Congo. They're letting their prisoners from the Congo, rough guys, come into the United States. Congratulations. They're letting people come in from Asia. They're letting people come in from all over the world. The Middle East, they're coming in from Yemen. They're coming in from all over. They're coming in by the millions, and they're coming in from the prisons and the mental institutions. And can you imagine the money they're saving? And can you imagine how much nicer it is? But Venezuela, the crime is down 72%. Because they don't have their criminals. They're taking their gang members in a rough fashion, and they're busing them into our country. And there may be, is there any criminal from Venezuela in the room? Please raise your hand. There probably is. We just don't know about it. No, but think how bad that is. And I do it. If I were the head of these countries, Honduras, El Salvador, I would do it in a heartbeat. Anybody. It's all over the world we're talking about. I have to say, I would be the first one that would have done it. And I wouldn't be having 50% jail populations. I'd be down to 0. They'd all be in the United States of America getting money for all of the different things that they get. They get cell phones. They get hospitalization. They get education. Even though they can't speak a word of English, they're taking the seats of people. And the instructors talking English, and they have somebody speaking, in some cases, languages that we've never even heard of. You know, there are a lot of languages that we don't have here. We have nobody that even speaks these languages. And they're sitting down in a school, taking a student's place that might be a hardworking, good student, a citizen, the child of citizens, and they're taking their place. Our country is going to hell, and we're going to stop it. We're going to stop it on November 5th. Just this week, 2 brave officers of the New York Police Department, these are great people, by the way, the New York's finest, and they are fine people, they're great people, were shot in Queens, New York, by a Biden migrant who Crooked Joe released into our country. This monster infiltrated from Venezuela and was quickly given administrative amnesty by Joe Biden. He got amnesty, along with taxpayer-funded hotel room, which is a very nice room, by the way, very luxurious. Well, he engaged in multiple suspected robberies before shooting 2 of our finest people, 2 of New York's finest, as we call them. In Palm Beach County, Florida, last month, an illegal alien criminal who Joe Biden released into the United States was charged for kidnapping an 11-year-old girl from her front yard and sexually assaulting her in the back of a van. And, of course, there was this horrific case of Laken Riley, who's incredible. I met the parents and may be here. the young nursing student, beautiful person, beautiful, top of her class, everything, from Georgia, who was savagely beaten and murdered by a bloodthirsty Biden migrant, allowed in through Biden after Crooked Joe set him loose into our country. They set him loose right into our country. Instead of apologizing to Laken Riley's family, Joe Biden apologized to her killer for calling him illegal. Do you remember that? Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry I called him illegal. He actually apologized. He went on. He apologized to this guy. And remember when Biden could not even pronounce Laken's name correctly in probably the worst State of the Union anyone's ever heard. Under the Trump administration, we will not be apologizing to illegal alien criminals. We will be putting them behind bars and throwing them out of our country rapidly. With his actions on the border, Joe Biden is the ringleader of one of the most vile criminal conspiracies of all time, aiding and abetting human traffickers, child smugglers, and terrorists. That's what he's doing. They have no fear. They know nobody's going after them. They can do whatever they want. And that goes with drugs. More drugs are coming into our country right now than at any time in our history, times 5 or times 6. We've never had massive amounts of drugs pouring into our country. We fought it like hell. We were fighting. And by the way, you'll never solve the problem without the death penalty. When I was in China, I was with President Xi, 1.4 billion people, strong guy, and we got along well until COVID. And I said, the hell with it, man. It wasn't. What they unleashed on the world was incredible. But we got along well, and he was going to stop the fentanyl coming into the United States. But I said to him, do you have the first meeting, a little naive question, but it's all right, not so bad. Do you have a drug problem? No, I do not have a drug problem. Well, no, don't you have any? No, we have no drug problem. Why? Swift trial. I said, what is Swift trial? Swift trial. What Swift trial is, they catch the drug dealer, and they give him a swift trial, meaning a very fast trial. At the end of the trial, if he's guilty, they execute him. Every drug dealer in China said, let's get the hell out of here. Let's go to the United States, where you don't even get a slap on the wrist, right? And I don't know that our country's ready for it. And I'll be honest with you, if you really knew the stats, a drug dealer, on average, during that drug dealer's life, will kill approximately 500 people. Do you know that, Paul? 500 people will die. Families, family members, children, young children, girls, boys, parents sometimes too. 500 people on average. And when you hear that, it doesn't sound so severe. You know, we would set up blue ribbon committees at the White House. We'd get socialites from New York, even socialites from Arizona. They'd sit around the table, they'd talk about it for 5 minutes, and then they'd start talking about what restaurant they're going out to dinner. These people are really tough and they're smart. The cartel people, they run these things like the best corporations in the country. They say they run more efficiently, they know how to do it. They're horrible people. They're killing hundreds of thousands of Americans each year. And when I mentioned it, and I do it purposely, I mentioned the death penalty, and without it, you're never going to solve the problem. If you look at Singapore, if you look at the only countries, essentially, that don't have a problem are people with either really strong crime prevention or countries with the death penalty. And Singapore is another one. They don't even know what you're talking about when you say, do you have a drug problem? Do you have a drug problem? No, we don't have a drug problem. Why would we have a drug problem? We have an unbelievable drug problem. We lost last year, in my opinion, 300,000 people. That's bigger than a war. That's bigger than a war. And so many times they're young people. And so many times it was a mistake. They thought they were taking something else. If you take the head of a pin and put a little fentanyl on the head, if it's a little bit larger than the head of a pin, you're dead. You have no chance. And this is pouring in from China. And I had a deal with President Xi. He was going to give the death penalty to anybody manufacturing fentanyl in China and selling it to the United States. But then when the election was rigged and didn't turn out right, he didn't have to do anything. And this group definitely didn't want to pursue that. But we had a deal. They weren't going to be sending the fentanyl into us anymore. But we have to do something with Mexico. 300,000 people are dying a year. Those are the real numbers. They like to say 100. They like to say 90. It's been that number for a long time. It's 300,000 people, and it's probably more than that. And we're going to have to take very strong action because we can't let that happen. That's like being in a war. You take a look at the Civil War. You take a look at wars that we've had where the numbers are not so much more than that. Double for the Civil War. That was a war within our country. And you take a look at this. We cannot let this stand any longer. We cannot take it from China, from Mexico, from anywhere else. We have to clean out the problem. And the people that do it, the tougher they are, the less of a problem they have. It's actually a very simple solution. In addition to all of the Biden migrant crimes stealing innocent American lives, Crooked Joe is also responsible for more women and children being sold into slavery than anyone else in modern history, because we are so weak on the borders now. We were so strong. This guy goes to the beach all the time. You ever watch him in a bathing suit? Somebody told him he looks good. Oh, Joe, you look great in a bathing suit. You know, you're 82 years old. You look fantastic. He can't lift the chair. The chair weighs about 3 hours. You know those chairs, aluminum, hollow aluminum. They weigh like, they're built for old people to lift and for children to lift. He can't lift. Well, today he couldn't get up, right? That was not good. What the hell happened to him today? It's always an adventure. He falls out of airplanes. He falls out of helicopters. What the hell is going on? But because of Biden's policies, millions and millions of children have been separated from their families and pushed into the hands of the coyotes and the cartels. And, you know, 88,000, I don't know if you do, if it were me, it would be the biggest story. 88,000 children are missing. You know that? 88,000, think of that. 88,000 children are missing under this administration, and they have no idea. And unfortunately, many of those children are dead, just like many of the hostages held by Hamas are dead. When they can't make a deal, you know, when they can't make a deal, that's a big problem. And they're finding out that a lot of them are gone. A lot of these people are gone right now. But there's a thing, again.
Yep.
it. And what we're doing is we're getting tremendous numbers that I don't think anybody's seen before, of African Americans coming over to vote for us. And we need those votes because we have to turn this country around. Simultaneously, illegal immigration is causing rent and housing costs to skyrocket, absolutely skyrocket, because we have 15 million new migrants and we have no place to put them. We have no place to put them. And that number is building so fast. We have absolutely no place. In everything that he does, Joe Biden puts illegal aliens first. He puts the cartels first. He puts the open borders, these lunatics first. And he betrays the American citizens. He's betraying the American citizens. Again, I say it all the time. He's the single worst president in the history of our country. You know, until I got indicted. I got indicted 4 times. Can you believe it? I never spoke. You know, I spoke. I'm a politician, I guess. I can't stand the name, but I'm a politician, I guess. I ran. I won. The only thing I did wrong was I beat somebody that I wasn't supposed to beat. We won the election in 2016. And then in 2020, as we all know, I did much better than I did in 2016. We got millions of more votes, but a lot of bad things happened. You know, they used COVID to cheat, et cetera, et cetera. But we're not going to let that happen again. But as your president, I will put African Americans first, Hispanic Americans first, Asian Americans first, women first, men first, people with diplomas from the top schools first, people without a diploma, that we had them all. But basically, I'll put all Americans first. I'm going to put them first. Because my loyalty is to the American people, and starting on day one, I will shift massive portions of federal law enforcement to immigration enforcement, including parts of the DEA, ATF, FBI, and DHS, if you know what that all is. I will deploy the U.S. Navy to impose a full blockade like I had on the cartels, because when the land gets tough to get across, they swing it out with the boats, and we will stop that. We already did. And deny them access to the waterways of our region. We will put the cartels out of business, and I will make clear to every federal department and agency that we must use any and all resources to stop this invasion of our country, including moving thousands of troops, if necessarily, currently stationed overseas, to our own borders. We protect other countries, but we don't protect our own country. Before we defend the borders of foreign countries, we will secure the border of our country. I think that makes sense. But first, and most importantly, because without this, it's only going to go bad, we have to win this November. We have to win. And remember, it starts in mid-September. You know, it's early voting, mid-September. North Carolina goes early. Pennsylvania goes very early. September 22nd in Pennsylvania. So it's really long before the November 5th date. But we use the November 5th because that's the day that we will have a chance, like we did years ago. We turned our country around. We made America great again. In fact, I couldn't use that slogan. I wasn't going to use that slogan in 2020 because America became great again. We were respected all over the world. And now I can use that slogan because our country is we're a failed nation. We need a victory that's too big to rig. You know what that means? We need everybody to get out and vote. Thank you. And you know, it's interesting. We talk about Second Amendment. I'm the one, I just got recently the endorsement of the NRA, which I appreciate. Very strong. Very strong. But I was talking to them, and you know, gun owners, for whatever reason, don't vote. They really don't vote. Vote in very, very low numbers. The gun owners have to get. Also, evangelicals and Christians don't vote like they should. If they would vote, we couldn't lose. There's nobody that could beat us. So we have to get the evangelicals. We have to get the gun owners. We have to get these people to vote. And if they vote, nobody can beat us. And if they don't vote, they're going to take away your guns because the Second Amendment is totally under siege. They'll take away your guns. You're not going to have protection. And other reasons that you want guns. So the gun owners have to vote. The Christians, the evangelicals have to go out. They have to vote. So I'm asking everybody to go out, and we have to swamp. You know the word swamp? I fired Comey. I fired a lot of people. I fired a lot of people. We were doing a job. But this is a different swamp. We have to go to swampthevoteusa.com. Swampthevoteusa.com. It's a different version of the word swamp. I never liked the word swamp. And then I said it one time at a big arena. The place went wild. I said, I sort of like it. I sort of like it. You know, Frank Sinatra told me he never liked singing My Way, except everybody liked it so much. And then all of a sudden he liked it the best. So we like the word swamp because it's meant so much. But we have to swampthevoteusa.com. That's where you go to get the information to request your ballot or pledge to vote early in person or even on election day. The main thing, you've got to vote. And you got to sort of watch your vote because these are crooked people. You got to watch your vote. Watch where it's going. And if you want to volunteer to help us turn out or target voters in your neighborhood, we have a lot of people that want to vote for us, but they don't vote. We got to get them to vote. We need TrumpForce47.com. TrumpForce47.com. And with your vote, we will end Joe Biden's border nightmare. We will fire his failed and weak, horrible, the worst ever administration. We will rescue the state of Arizona. We will make America great again. We will make it great again, greater than ever before. And now, we're going to do something a little different. You think Biden does this? If they ask him one question, he just leaves. They ask him one question. No, we're gonna take some questions. We don't do this often because it gets a little bit sloppy, I must say. But they look like nice people. But whatever question you'd like to ask, it can be a horrible, embarrassing, vicious question, or it could be quite nice. I don't care personally, because it's called We Answer You. You ask a question, we answer the question. Yes, darling, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, for taking the time to answer this question. I am a mother, a wife, and a woman, and I also foster and adopt kids. Growing up near the border, I've seen firsthand how an unsecured border has impacted my family and our community. I worry about the illegal drugs being brought into our community and what could happen to my children. What steps can be taken to reduce the drugs being brought into the country as well, and safety and well-being of families and the community?
Thank you, darling. Good. Very good question. It's a very basic question. It's a little bit what we've been talking about, but it's going to be at a level that we have never seen in this country. Even as good as I did, I created the safest border in history. We're going to make it so good. All Biden had to do is let the people stay there, keep the same policies. We wouldn't even be talking about this as an issue. And I think in a certain way, it's just one of the truly big issues. We're going to make our border very powerful, very strong. We're going to stop drugs from coming in. We're going to stop this whole thing with human trafficking, which is a big part of your question. And we're going to make your homeland safe for you to stay with your family, where thousands of people aren't pouring in and looking through your windows. And what they're doing here in Texas, and by the way, the governor of Texas has done a very good job of closing it up. But here they haven't done that. They haven't done that. And in California, they haven't. 82% of the people are coming in now through California, Arizona. So we're going to have to close it up. We're going to close it up. We're going to use federal powers to close it up. Thank you, darling, very much. Good question. Yes, sir. You're a good-looking guy. Look at that guy. Looks like a banker from Wall Street.
You can see I'm an old man, and I have grandchildren that I want to see taken care of.
Right.
And I love them, and I want them to know that they can have the same life that I have had.
Oh, it's very nice.
What are you going to do about that?
We're going to make sure that they have the same. You know, I mean, I could just see how incredible you are by the emotion of that and the way you asked the question. We're going to make sure they have the same life that you had or better. We're going to make it safe. We have to give authority back to law enforcement so they can properly protect people, because right now the law enforcement is just not allowed to do their job because crime is so bad. Crime is so bad in the cities, and one of the things I said is we're giving immunity. We're going to guarantee people, you know, they lose a law enforcement person, they go and stop people from robbing stores. You go to some of these department stores where 500 people walk into the stores. They walk out with air conditioning. They strip the whole store. The company goes out of business. The store is vacant for 25 years. The whole city becomes a slum. And if you do anything as a law enforcement person, they take away your house. They take away your family. They take away your pension. We're going to make it so that we're going to give them essentially immunity. We're going to make it that they are not going to be losing their pensions. They're going to be able to do their job. And we're going to get life back to where I know exactly the life that you're talking about. It was a life of common sense. It was a life where there was no crime. There was nobody getting bopped over the head when they weren't looking, getting pushed into a railroad train or a subway. It's just horrible what's taking place. It's horrible. It's evil. We're going to get it back to common sense. We're going to have law and order. Thank you. Great question. Thank you. Great question. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, President Trump, for
Thank
coming
you.
down. We really do appreciate
Thank you.
you.
Thank you very much.
I'm in the unique position of having two children that are in their 30s and a set of girls in there that are teenagers. I know what I did have to do with the 30-year-olds. I know what I now have to do with the teenagers. I have trackers on those girls, and I've taught them evasive action when driving through our county because of the high-speed pursuits of the human trafficking.
Who would believe you have to even think about doing that, right?
Never with the original two.
Yeah, no, I know that.
How would you handle the criminal activity that is running rampant because of this open border? Because all of this is from this open border.
Okay. Strength, and we're getting them back. We're bringing them back. In some cases, we'll keep them here. There's some real bad ones, but don't forget, when we keep them here, they cost us millions and millions of dollars per person. It's so crazy. We're getting them the hell out of our country, and we start with the criminals. And you know what? Our local police know who they are. They know their first name, their middle name, their last name. We have to give authority back to the local police, who are fantastic people. Okay? Thank you very much. We'll get that stopped, and soon. Yes, sir, please.
Trump, so great to have you here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
I'm a veteran Air Force individual.
Good.
But foremost, I am a father and a husband, and I find it frightening that we have illegals crossing our border from countries like China, the Middle East, and other dangerous countries. How will you prevent all this national disaster happening at our southern border?
So we can do things that nobody does with this. We have tremendous economic power. And by the way, if we're not careful, we're not going to have that for long either. That's going to go down the tubes with everything else. But if China or some other country is behaving badly, we have things called tariffs that are so severe. Mexico, look at Mexico, what they're doing. I can solve that problem, I believe, in one day. You send people through, you allow people to come through your country with hundreds of miles they have to walk, hundreds through. By the way, those caravans, I thought I came up with the name, maybe somebody else did, but they're caravans of thousands of people. The young women in particular, but the young women in those caravans suffer so badly, and there's so much death. And this is all caused by Biden, where people think they're going to walk into the United States. It's just another form of death. We are going to be so tough, and if a country is not going to behave, we're going to tariff the hell out of that country, because one of the powers that we have, and if we have to, we'll do more than that, but I don't think you're going to need it. You know, I had a very good relationship with China, yet I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. No president, we wouldn't have any steel factories, any steel mills in the United States if I didn't do what I did. I was taxing them at 25% and 50%, perhaps going up very substantially. But we wouldn't have industry, certain industry, they would have been gone. And it's not only China, it's every country tries to take advantage of us. The European Union is brutal to us. They don't take our cars. They don't take our food products. They don't take anything. We have a tremendous deficit. You know, the European Union sounds so nice. They're very tough. We have hundreds of billions of dollars of deficits. We had that really going great. Then COVID came in and I had to take care of that, or we would have had a country that was 1929. If I didn't pour money at COVID, we would have had a country that was in 1929 depression. We handed over a stock market that was higher than just prior to it coming in. But we're going to be very tough on countries because, you know, you can stop it at the source. If you stop it at the source, it's much easier than really having battles at the border, and we'll stop it at the stores. And I'll go back to President Xi, and he'll honor it, I believe, death penalty for those people that send these horrible drugs into our country. And you'll see it stop very quickly. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, President Trump. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We love you in Navajo County, by the way.
Thank you.
So I'm a mom of 3, and when I go to the grocery store to fill up the fridge, costs are out of control. So what do you think we can do? We need to bring those costs
Got to
back
bring
down.
them down. We have the greatest inflation, in my opinion, in the history of our country. They say in 47 years, somebody else said 78 years. I say it's in the history. You look at the cost of food, and you look at the cost of energy, and you see where it is. And I think we're almost 50%. It's, you know, they like to say 24%, 28%. It's much higher. And they don't include a lot of the things that are really bad. I'll give you an example. Interest rates. So interest rates went from 2.5% with me up to close to 10%, and you can't get money anyway. But we have a very sick country. It started with energy. Now it's all over. And now energy isn't as bad as food. It's not as bad as rent. It's not as bad as a lot of things. But energy is going to bring it all down. If we cut your energy in half, you're going to see a difference, the likes of which you've never seen before. We're going to get rid of inflation, and we're going to bring that number down. Not just where you don't have inflation. We're going to bring those costs down, because it's the biggest thing I hear is people going out to the grocery store. They make the same amount of money, but they can buy half of the product. They buy half. And it's the single, I'll tell you what, it's the single biggest. I even have that here. I have something here. Let me see. Because you asked this question, I think I'll show it. Should I show it? I don't know if you can see it. Look. Tic Tacs. This is what inflation does. This is what inflation does. This is what inflation. Okay? Look. Not good, right? But I kid. But there really is no kidding. It's serious. People can't live. People that had a comfortable life under Trump, making the same kind of money. We had many more jobs, and they had all bounce-back jobs. They bounced back from COVID. They were going to come back. But people that made the same amount of money, they live half as well because costs are so high. Inflation is known as a country buster. It busts up countries. It busted up Germany years and years ago. Anytime you have inflation that's not checked, not controlled, it's a country buster, and it's going to bust up our country because we've never had inflation so bad. So we're going to get the energy down. We're going to get the food prices down. We're going to do a lot of cutting also, and we're going to make our country very livable. We had almost no inflation, and now we have record-setting inflation, and it's killing people. Thank you, darling, very much. Thank you. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President, for taking my question.
Thank you.
And you talking about energy is a perfect segue into my question. And here's my question, is this. I've watched gas prices under the Joe Biden administration just soar, and we're no longer energy dominant, as you mentioned.
Can you believe it, right? By the way, to interrupt, we have more, I call it liquid gold, under our feet than any other nation in the world. Saudi Arabia, Russia, but we don't use it. We don't use it. We don't use it because of these people that are absolutely, they're crazy. They're crazy. We don't use it. Drill, baby, drill. The man just said it. Drill, baby, drill. Go ahead.
And you know, exactly, Mr. President. I'm a pastor, and I'm watching the members of my church hurt over how much, just like what you're saying, the gas cost is just to get to work, go to school, and go to church. And therefore, my question is this: what are you going to do to help the everyday American who could barely afford the price of gas? And before you answer that, Mr. President, I just want to say this as a pastor. Scripture says, where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more. And we want to thank you for tapping into the greater grace that's going to eliminate and bring this country back into the greatness.
Thank you, Pastor. Very good. You can be my pastor any day. Thank you, Pastor. I appreciate it. We can get energy started. You know, you have places in this country that you're very high. Your energy is very high. But you have the New England states that are the highest in our country. It's crazy. And if they had a pipeline going from Pennsylvania through New York, but New York won't approve it, if they had a pipeline, they would cut their numbers down by 50%. I predict, and I will tell you, I'm going to get energy costs down to much less than 50% of what they are now all throughout our country. And that's going to have an unbelievable... And once that happens, interest rates are going to follow. Interest rates will naturally follow. It's not as complicated as people think, and I did it. We had no inflation. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country, and we'll do it again, but we'll do it even better. Thank you, Pastor. It's very nice. Appreciate it.
President Trump, it's an honor.
Thank you.
I enlisted in the Army Reserve because I love my country, like many of us do.
Right.
Under Biden, our national security is at risk with endless wars. What is your plan to bring us back to peace?
So, such a good question. So, you know, when I ran against Hillary Clinton, I don't use the word crooked anymore. I don't use the word anymore. I don't do, because I removed that word. I used it for Joe. I thought it was more accurate. Then I had Sleepy Joe, and I removed it into Crooked Joe. I thought it was slightly more accurate. But we had a situation going with all of these people, everything. They wanted to say that I was going to create World War III. Look at him, he's a radical, look at him. I was a radical for not having wars. And if you look at Viktor Orban from Hungary, strong country, strong man, he's a very powerful man, runs it strong. He didn't take illegal aliens. He didn't want them. He said, I want my people to be Hungarian. I don't want to have my shopping centers blown up, et cetera, et cetera. And they asked him a few weeks ago, they said, let me ask you, Mr. Prime Minister, what's going on with the world? The world is blowing up. You have Ukraine, Russia, you have Israel, you have all these places. They're in war with each other. What's going on? He said, there's one thing going on. He said, Donald Trump isn't president. If Trump is president, it's all going to end. They all respected Trump, and it's true. And it's true. So they said that, oh, look at, Hillary said this, look at Trump, just look at this guy. He's going to go to war. He's going to take us. No. Look at me. I'm the one that kept us out of war. For 78 years, it was 78 years until another president, look, that's a long time. I kept you out of wars. I totally defeated ISIS. I rebuilt our military, and countries respected us. I totally rebuilt our military, and I rebuilt our Veterans Administration. I took good care of our vets. 92% approval rate. So we are going to make sure there's no wars. We don't want to have wars. I call them endless wars. I call them wars where people don't even want us involved. Now, Ukraine's a very interesting case because we spend hundreds of billions of dollars, and Europe, you know, don't forget, we have a little thing called an ocean in between us. Europe should be paying much more. Nobody asks them to pay more. I asked them to pay more for NATO, and they paid a lot more. That's where they got all the money, because they were all mostly delinquent, other than 8 nations. But they would always say Trump is going to get us into war with his attitude. No. My attitude kept us out of war. We defeated ISIS, totally defeated ISIS. We got out of Syria. We got out of Iraq. I got out of these wars because I'm a big believer. I want to spend our money in our country doing our country's great things. Our country, you drive down our roads, you drive down our highways, our country's falling to pieces, our infrastructure is falling. And then these guys, all they want to do is spend money on the Green New Scam. It's a Green New Scam. I mean, the things they're spending money on, it's like throwing the money out the window. And we don't want to do that. We want to fix our roads and highways. We want to get rid of the electric mandate for the car. How about that? They have hundreds of thousands of cars right now. And by the way, I'm a big fan of electric cars. I'm a fan of Elon. I like Elon, but you know, I like him. And I think a lot of people are going to want to buy electric cars. But if you want to buy a different type of car, you have to have a choice. Some people need to go far. Some people don't want their car built in China. Some people, you know, there are advantages to other. And basically what people have to have a choice. And you know what? You have to have a choice also in education. You're going to have choice in education, and you're going to have choice in what you buy. And that has to do with electric. The electric cars don't go far. And by the way, they're incredible. He does an incredible job with Tesla. And I tell him, I said, you know, and I think he agrees with me, frankly, but you can't. They don't go far. Same thing with the trucking industry. I met with the trucking industry the other night. They said they want us to switch to electric trucks. They have to stop 6 times going to California with a load of diesel. They don't have to stop at all. How the hell can you do that? You're going to destroy our supply chain. You're going to destroy everything. You put everybody out of business. So we are going to do things based on common sense. We're not going to allow men to play in women's sports. We're not going to allow people to pour into our country. We're going to get your taxes way down. We're going to save your Social Security. We're going to save Social Security. Biden is putting your Social Security at risk by allowing all of these people to pour into our country. It's at big risk, and we're not going to stand for that. He is putting Social Security at risk. With me, your Social Security is 100% safe, okay? Please.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you for taking our questions.
Thank you.
I'm a retired vet who had to close down my business because of the disastrous Biden economy. It's been tough. What's your plan to make sure other small businesses don't go through the same grinder?
Well, they have to, and you know, it's incredible. We had it going, and I poured money in to our country, and I'm sure you were a beneficiary at the time, but I poured money in to keep those businesses going and to keep people employed because of COVID. COVID was a disaster. And we were able to get through that, and we got through without going into a depression. But with Biden, he's spending money on the wrong things. He's not spending money on you. He's spending money on things that don't work. He's got the most expensive forms of energy ever, where everything's subsidized. He's got windmills all over the place. Every time you see a windmill going up, you need tremendous subsidy. Now, it kills your birds. It ruins your landscape, ruins the value. If you have a house and you can see a windmill, your house is worth half. But it's also the most expensive energy there is. And we have to get back to the basics. And we have to be able to help people like you, not to help his friends who make all this crap. And much of it's made, and you know, a lot of it's made, most of it's made in China. It's made in China. There's something going on why somebody would want to do these things where the product is made in China. That goes for electric cars too, by the way. But the windmills are all made in China and some in Germany, but most of them are made in China. What the hell are we doing, right? We'll take care of you. You watch. Thank you. I understand exactly what you're saying, too. Just hang in. Yes, sir.
Mr. President, thank you very much. My name is Jorge Rivas. It's truly an honor to be talking to you again. And real quick, my wife, Betty, would like to say hi to you real quick.
Whoa. Look at her. Yeah. Thank you, Betty. Thank you very much.
Latinos really do love you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
And I do mean that.
I love them. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And besides loving you, we're also praying for you, Mr. President. You'll be all right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very nice.
My wife and I own a small restaurant in Tucson, Arizona, Sammy's Mexican Grill. And since the pathetic Joe Biden administration took over, the prices of everything that we use double
Yeah,
just a couple of months after they took over. So would you be helping us out? And is there going to be some drill, baby drill?
Yeah. You know what's so interesting about it? We're going through questions, and I have time. What the hell else do we have to do today? Let's stay, right? But I have time. But do you notice that the questions are basically about the border? Think of it. All these questions, almost everyone about the border, they want border security, and they also want help on inflation because you're getting killed with inflation. The price of bacon has gone up 5 times. You can't order bacon. I don't order it anymore. It's too expensive. But bacon, as an example, has really, eggs, all of this stuff, it's gone up at levels that nobody has ever seen before. But I believe the energy is going to bring it down. I think we can bring it down. And then once it starts that spiral, it's going to be a beautiful thing. Because, when they say we're at 4% now, they're not including the fact that you might be 45, 50% higher than you were 4 years ago. So it's not 4%. We have to get it down. We have to bring it down. The best way that we can bring it down is with interest rates and energy, and the interest rates are going to follow the energy down, and that's going to follow the bacon and the eggs down, okay? Thank you. And you have a beautiful wife. Thank you. Thank you. I love that. I like that hat. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. It's an honor to stand before you.
Thank you. It's my honor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name is Jose, and I own a small business that provides services for special needs children and adults.
Great.
And thank you so much. And I have a question for you this afternoon. Time and time again, we come across paying American citizen families that are denied services that their child requires, while on the other hand, we see others rushing across the border freely and easily receiving assistance. What will you do, Mr. President, about the influx in immigration, strained resources because of this widespread and open border, sir?
So we have to get them out. Look, it's not sustainable for us to have 20 million people that we have to take care of, and it's just not sustainable. And their countries, I know the leaders, I know them just about all, their countries are doing this because they're smart. I would be the leader of the pack. If I ran Honduras, if I ran El Salvador, if I ran some of these countries that are sending vast numbers of people, I would be emptying out our prisons. I'd say, listen, send them to those stupid people in the United States who are led by idiots. Send them into the United States. Let's have empty prisons, and let's never let them come back in. Venezuela said the other day that we're never allowing the people that they sent out to come back into Venezuela. Okay? That's not going to happen. But they said that. So they are sending them out, and they're saying you can never come back because they're letting the bad people. We're going to stop that, and we're going to deport, and we have no choice. Dwight Eisenhower was so far the biggest deporter. He was a president that hated to see what was happening. He had a lot of people pouring into our country. It was really hurting our country badly. And in many cases, people would say destroying our country because they were just coming in. Nothing like what you're witnessing today, by the way. But he did very big deportation and very successful deportation. If we had a choice, it would be nice not to have to do it. We have to do it because this is not sustainable for you or for any other business in this room. It's not sustainable for our country. So we're going to deport, and we're going to get it back, and we're going to bring our country back, and we're going to make our country bigger and better and stronger than ever before. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello, Mr. President. My name is Jeanette Garcia. I am an Army combat veteran, a prior federal police officer here at Luke Air Force Base. I've seen a fair share of challenges in my life. I'm a domestic violence survivor as well as sexual assault. I'm a single mother, and the crime rate's rising. I'm really worried about the safety of our communities and families. What specific steps are you planning to take to tackle and make our community safe again?
We have to back our police. We have to back law enforcement. We have to give them back their respect and their honor and their dignity, and they're great people. We have to do it. And the people that are most affected are really the minority communities. Those are the people that are most affected. And I really think that's one of the reasons we have so many African-American people supporting us. Nobody's ever seen anything. They're leaving the Democrats in numbers that nobody's ever seen before. Because you know what? They have to be safe. They have to be safe. Thank you. That's a great point. Thank you. Please. It's a beautiful baby.
Thank you.
Can't do better than that. That's beautiful. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Mr. President.
Hi.
My name is Emily. This is my daughter, Felicity. We live in northern Arizona. It's beautiful and, quiet and nice and everything, but, it's also in a rural area. My concern is that the nearest equipped trauma hospital is over an hour and a half away. What can your administration do to give rural Americans better access to hospitals?
Well, we're going to be helping rural America. Rural America votes for Trump. There's nobody going to take that away. And we'll be helping. They've been building. We started a process for building hospitals and other things in rural America. And I'm going to keep that going. They ended it in the Biden administration, as you know. But we're going to keep that going. Rural America, look, it's the backbone. It's the heart of our country. We'll take care of it. Okay? You just hang in. We'll get it done. Thank you. Okay, how about one more if it's a good one? We'll end on a good one. Always end on a good one, right?
Gotta follow the baby, so we don't know about that.
That's right.
So I'm an advocate for many senior citizens.
Good.
And they are struggling financially. Their Social Security checks do not make it through the month. They have to sometimes pick between food and medication. They're concerned that they're not going to be able to survive 4 more years of Biden. What can you say today to give them some hope and encouragement?
Vote for Trump. What can I say? Because they won't survive through Biden. I think that's a good question. Thank you. That was a very good question. Thank you. So we'll just end by saying it's been an honor to be with you. So interesting, though. Everything was about the border and about inflation and the economy. It's incredible. And every question, some of it sounded repetitive, but it wasn't really repetitive. It was just from the heart. And frankly, it very much is about the border. The border's destroying our country. We're being destroyed in many ways. We're not respected in the outside of our country. I say we have the enemy in from within, and we have the enemy from the outside. And I'm telling you, we are in more danger from the enemy from within with these lunatics, these fascists, these communists, and we're going to stop that also. But it was so interesting to get those questions because they all concern the economy, inflation, and the border, and we're going to take care of it all. We're going to make America greater than ever before. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great.